Greetings, Sean here, Mostly Metal. It's time for another contest entry. But first, in the background, goes without saying, today LG from Entombed and countless other bands has passed. So I've been listening to some Entombed today. And if you hear some stuff in the background, it actually hit 65 degrees where I'm at today, which is a huge blessing. So the windows are open, and Mama Mostly Metal left, and the dog's upset, so you might hear the dog crying. You're going to hear Entombed, which is a good thing. You may hear some loud motorcycles or mufflers in the background. I apologize, but I have to have the windows open. So with all that out of the way, this is a contest entry for Liam over at the Death Doom Metalhead. He hit 500 subscribers. Congrats. Enjoy his channel quite a bit. One of the channels I go to when he puts out a new video, I go to it right away. If you're into especially the doomier side of metal, dude's an expert on doom metal. I've discovered a lot of stuff through his channel. There's a band called On Thorns I Lay that he told me about and wanted him to see. I actually did order it. I have not listened to it yet. Looking forward to that. Speaking of this album, LG Trough, he was in Comic-Con as well. Megatron's Brutality. I ordered this a few weeks ago before his untimely passing, so rest in peace. So there are, I think, 6 questions here from Liam, so we're going to go through them one by one. Some of them may have cheated a little bit, just because I couldn't find what he was after, but we'll go ahead and start. The first one is show me an album cover that depicts the Grim Reaper, and then tell me about your local metal scene and your opinion on it. So this one I did some digging on and found a lot of fascinating things about it just by the digging. But this is Mirror Reaper by Bellwitch, and upon first glance you may think, well, that's not the Grim Reaper, but if you look real close down here, that's actually the Grim Reaper. This is, and if we fold it out, the artwork is just killer on this. I can't remember the guy's name that did the artwork, but these guys were a 3-piece, and while they were recording this album, their drummer passed away. So the album took on kind of a weird, depressing turn of events. Obviously, the music that was coming out was very depressing. And this is kind of the funeral doomy type stuff. It's 180-some minute long track, but due to time limitations on CDs, they had to cut it into 2. So I think the first side's As Above and the other side is As Below, I believe. It's not listed on here. And the other thing that stands out to me in this release being so heavy is that there's no guitar on it. It's bass, drums, percussion, and Hammond organ and vocals, obviously. And there were some unused vocals that their drummer had contributed to their last album that they did not put out, so that was on there. They took some of his old vocals and put it on a track as kind of a tribute to him. This is kind of a better picture of the cover. You can see down here, if you get maybe I can get close enough with this fancy camera. You see that's the Grim Reaper there. And to me, the cover, I don't know what the artist was thinking in this mindset for putting this together. But to me, it kind of shows that the Grim Reaper in the grand scheme of things, it's supposedly like the Grim Reaper comes knocking and you're dead. And that's the be-all end-all, but to me it's almost saying there's something even bigger than the Grim Reaper, and he's such an insignificant thing. It could also mean that death is such an insignificant thing and you should enjoy life while you're here. So lots of nuances to this release, and this was very critically acclaimed when it came out. So if you don't have this, Mirror Reaper by Bellwitch, great stuff. Tell me about your local metal scene. I have some friends who are in a band called Blackwater. I'll link it below. Other than that, there's a few bands here and there. Obviously, in the last year, there hasn't been any shows. But heavy metal in general is pretty popular in the Midwest where I am. The Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Ohio especially. Death metal in Ohio is huge. And then a little bit up north in the Minnesota, Michigan area, that kind of atmospheric black metal is real popular. But my local metal scene, there really isn't much of one. There really is nowhere to play. All the bars, it's kind of a college town, so they want you to play cover songs and shit if you're in a band. There really isn't an outlet for local bands to showcase their skills, if you will. So it's kind of disappointing. But now if you do like Disturbed covers and Five Finger Death Punch covers, you can play bars all you want, but outside of that, there really is no metal scene. Number 2. So the first, there's like 6 topics, so to speak. The first one was death. Good way to start, Liam, by the way. Let's start with death and get that out of the way. But the next one is sorrow. So we're gonna ease up into some fun here, I promise. But it's heavy metal. What do you expect? Sorrow. Show me an album cover that features the emotions of sorrow, i.e. a feeling of deep distress, disappointment, loss. Could have easily picked that one, but I went with a different one. And then tell me what TV show brings you out in tears. So to me, it was hard to pick this one. I wanted to pick the one that Liam showed, the AFSCII album. I even mentioned that when I talked about that album on my channel. That cover art just depicting the guy dead and his wife just screaming in sorrow is pretty heavy. But I went with, I want to get the right name, American 4, The Man Comes Around, by Mr. Johnny Cash himself. The cover itself isn't really depressing. What was more depressing about it was, I think this album came out in 2003, 2004, no, 2003, I believe, 2002, Christ, I can't remember. But I'm pretty sure June Carter Cash's wife passed away not too long after. Which is, if you listen to some of the songs on here, he covered Hurt by 9 Inch Nails, did an excellent job. Some other songs on here, The Man Comes Around, speaking of the Grim Reaper, Give My Love to Rose, Bridge Over Troubled Waters, First Time I Ever Saw Your Face, I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry. It was almost like he knew his wife's life was coming to an end before it happened. And you can hear it. Might just be me reading too much into it, but when you hear his cover of Hurt and his tone of his voice in some of these other songs, it was almost like he was getting ready to cry every time he sang some of these songs. There's the back if you're interested. But yeah, it's just that the cover showing Johnny Cash by himself with a black background. It's just, and you listen to the album, you're like, it's depressing, but it's good in a way. It really, in my opinion, this album brought a lot of new fans to Johnny Cash and helped kind of reinvigorate country. Tell me a TV show that brings you to tears. So I didn't know if this was tears of joy or tears of sadness. I assume sadness because of sorrow. I cannot think of a TV show that brings me to tears. There's a show called The First 48 on, maybe it's A&E, where it follows detectives, homicide detectives, and it's real, it's not fake. They try to solve these crimes, and they need to get a lead in the first 48 hours. The old adage is if you don't get a lead in the first 48 hours in a homicide, it's really hard to solve the case. And there's some cases on there that, it didn't make me cry out loud, but it was pretty sad and depressing. TV shows that bring me tears of joy would be like a South Park or something like that, where I laugh so hard I cry. And a movie, I'm just throwing out a movie. I remember when I was a kid, E.T. made me cry. That was the first time a movie made me cry. I was in the movie theater, I was bawling my eyes out. So, but yeah, for as far as TV shows, I would say probably The First 48 would be my bet. Next one's laughter. Appease my dark sense of humor and show your worst, most inappropriate album cover. This might get us banned on YouTube. Liam. I keep calling him Ian. It's Liam. I have a couple I want to show. This one I've shown before. This is Shit Fun by Autopsy. If I show it far enough away, I probably won't get in trouble. The next one is it's not metal, but this is a 10-piece band called Mom's Apple Pie. I'm going to take it out of the plastic here so you can see it. This is a pretty risque cover for a band in 1972, I think. They were a 10-piece rock band. What makes this album cover inappropriate is if you look at the apple pie there, let's get real close. That looks like a part of the female anatomy. You can see Mama is licking her lips. As you can imagine, people did not like this album cover, especially in 1972. You probably would have thought the world was ending. The picture of the band on the back there. But when this came out, people were freaked out by the vulva there. They had to put out another version of it. Today, this would be nothing today. But I think they put a new or different version of this out with, I think some cops were looking in the window and they put something over that part of the pie. But I thought that was pretty funny. I can't remember where I heard about this album, but I got a good deal on the cover, and I don't want to say it's hard to find, but it's one of those rarities that got banned and had to get it. And then, tell me a joke. There was a good joke. I'm not really one for jokes so much, like memes and stuff I share, but I wanted to do a metal themed joke, and there was one I saw go around that I found. It was, how many metalheads does it take to change a light bulb? None. They embrace the darkness. Pretty funny. Number 4, skulls. Show me an album cover with a pile of skulls on it. So, believe it or not, I looked. I didn't spend days on this, but I looked and looked, and I couldn't think of one anyway that had a pile of skulls on it. Now, one just popped in my head. There's an Autopsy album I think I have, and I just had fucking Autopsy right here. I think it has a pile of skulls on it, but I might be wrong. So I'm with an album that I listened to recently that I remember had a skull on it. This is the Ifronock Pan-Amerikan. God, I can never remember their fucking name. Pan-Amerikan Native Front. They're from Illinois. I should know this. If you notice the moon up here is a skull right there. So I thought it was kind of a subtle thing. It's not a pile of skulls, but it is what it is. Ifronock, talked about them quite a bit. There's the full release, and Pan-Amerikan Native Front are a great band. They kind of deal with black metal. Their theme, though, is more related to the area around Illinois and Illiniwek and the Indians and what they went through in this area, along like the War of the Wabash River and things like that. So he kind of pulls in some local history, which for me is kind of interesting because I live in Illinois. So I've been diving into his catalog quite a bit. Turtles War, I think they had a pre-order for that recently and maybe out by now. I tried 2 or 3 different times to get a copy and it went like that. But maybe they'll repress that like they are the Lamp of Murmur stuff. So, and then your best band shirt in your collection, why you love it. This one's probably one of my favorites and it happens to have a skull on it. It's my old Pantera shirt from 1994. I'm getting rid of it just because it doesn't fit me anymore for one. And it's just a t-shirt that's been sitting in a Tupperware, a crate, or a tote, whatever you want to call it, for a long time. I just don't need it anymore, so hopefully someone else will enjoy that. Next up, sci-fi. Let's see. Show me a sci-fi themed album cover. This was easy. It's the first one I thought of. This is Hidden History of the Human Race by Blood Incantation. This came out a couple years ago on Dark Descent. Super popular release. I didn't like it when I first heard it. I've listened to it many times, and it hadn't really sunk in yet. I kept it though because I could tell there was something there I liked, and it's one of those albums that I'm probably going to go back to one day and be like, you were such an idiot for not thinking or knowing how good this was. And there's the back. Blood Incantation, death metal band, kind of tech death, I guess. But that album cover is great with the alien on the front. It just speaks to sci-fi left and right, even throughout the lyrics. So I thought this was a perfect choice for that question. And then what happened? Next question. Let's get the music going again. There we go. Your favorite sci-fi movie, and tell me why, or tell me why you think they're rubbish if you don't like them. So I was a huge Star Wars fan as a kid. So to me, Empire Strikes Back is probably my favorite sci-fi movie of all time. Aliens is pretty good if that's considered sci-fi. Blade Runner. What else? The original Star Wars, of course. But I remember Empire Strikes Back. I remember my parents took me out of school when I was, 4 or 5, whatever year it was that movie came out. Bought me a basketball and said, we're going to go see The Empire Strikes Back today. And you would have thought, who cares about Christmas? I got a new basketball. They took me to see Empire Strikes Back. It was such a big deal back then. They, where we sat, it was in this old movie theater that's still running today. There's shows there and stuff sometimes, but they had someone dressed like Darth Vader come out, and I lost my shit. It was a great time. Great day. Great day. Next and final is heavy metal. Show me a band that you would consider heavy metal to you. And then what would you like to see change on my channel or something you wish I would stop doing? So to me, heavy metal, I just went with what I consider some of the originators, Black Sabbath. This is not my favorite Sabbath album, but it was the first one I grabbed. To me, heavy metal, people say, where should I start? Start with Black Sabbath. If you like Black Sabbath, we can take you on a bunch of different directions. You may not quite tie in the correlation between black metal and Black Sabbath, but to me it all started here. It wasn't not my first exposure to heavy metal, but Black Sabbath, you could toss Judas Priest and Iron Maiden in there too. Those three, if someone was new to heavy metal, you could just hand them those three bands and say, start here and come back to me in a year, and then we'll go a different direction. What would you like to see change on my channel or something you wish I would stop doing? So actually, Liam, enjoy your channel quite a bit. I think one thing I'd like to see you do, and I see other people do this, is maybe do some kind of a live stream with some other folks out where you live. I know it's probably hard to live stream with people in the United States due to time change and whatnot. It's probably hard for it to work out, but I'd love to see you and some of your friends that also have YouTube channels kind of do one of these live stream deals where you guys talk about a topic or talk about the music scene over there where you live. Something like that I think would be cool, but otherwise I think your channel's great. And continue on. You're already over 500 subscribers, I saw today, so keep it up. Look forward to more, and I look forward to entering your 1,000 subscriber contest. So that's it for me, guys. Go subscribe to Liam down below, make a video, support his channel, and I will catch you all very soon. Later.